Andy, welcome back. Thank you
It
so much
is
for joining us this evening.
absolutely my pleasure to be here again today, Michael.
All right, great. So, just to bring everybody up to speed before we start going into questions, can you please, tell everybody what you've been doing for the last, 10, 20, I guess, 30 years, how you got into all of this, and anything of note that people need to understand the context of what we're going to talk about tonight?
Sure. I'll say it briefly. It was I started in my family's commercial construction material supply company back in 1989. Had a project in Milwaukee in 1992 where workers were getting sick from the materials we were supplying, and it essentially launched a whole career for me supplying healthy, common sense, toxin-free building materials. Completely changed the direction of our family business, and really we're the pioneers in the healthy home movement back in 1993.
And have people followed suit? Are there a lot of companies now doing this type of work? And I just want to add to that. And of those companies, when hearing you talk about this, when you were here, your passion is very evident. You're very excited about it. Are they just taking advantage of greenwashing, or do you find that a lot of the companies out there are really passionate about making things safe for the environment as well as for the people living in the spaces that they're working on?
I think it's a little bit of both. I believe that there are some companies out there that have started up in the last 20 years that really are focusing on human health. Maybe not to the extent that I do. It's a very, very niche community of working with people with extreme chemical sensitivities, extreme allergies, and depressed immune systems. There's a lot of designers out there that are now marketing what's called like well-designed homes or well-built homes. There are other material suppliers that are also in the space. I think that the majority of companies that are out there right now that are promoting green are still really focusing on those basics of energy efficiency, recycled content, and global environmental concerns, which of course are very important, but it completely misses the direction of human health.
Thank you. All right, so give me 1 second here. I just gotta pull up my list of trusty questions here for you. So bear with me. And there we are, almost there. Okay. So, okay. Well, actually, we discussed some of these questions yesterday, but this is, this can be a different audience makeup.
Sure.
So I want to, ask some of the stuff like yesterday. I asked you about the mattress. Can you please tell people about mattresses and how they can select a healthy mattress? What are the dangers? Like why are we even talking about a mattress? What could be wrong with the mattress?
Yeah, the biggest danger that we find in traditional mattresses will be the use of chemical additives to whether it's the fabrics to the foam, flame retardants. And I know, of course, state of California has banned the use of certain flame retardants, but they haven't banned the use of all of them. And so it's kind of like we discussed yesterday that when companies take chemicals out of a product because of a regulation, it's not as if they are then told what you put back in has to be healthy. One thing that I need to mention is that there's about 92,000 chemicals right now in that have been invented and are in use in the production of building materials and home goods. Out of those 92,000 chemicals, only about 3% have ever been tested for the toxicological effects in humans. We have absolutely no idea what the other 97% of these chemicals are doing to the human body. And of course, when you combine them with other things that are in the air, that are on your skin, in your foods, we don't know what that's doing to the human body. All right. So my approach is always, let's just go with the least amount of chemical that we can find. And in something like a mattress, to me, that's going with a mattress that uses organic fabrics, certified organic fabrics, organic latex, or the use of metal springs that are actually encased with organic fabrics. There are lots of good companies out there. I talked about a couple of them yesterday. Savvy Rest makes really good latex mattresses. My Green Mattress out of Northern Illinois. I've actually visited that manufacturing plant myself, and I'm shocked. A manufacturing plant that makes fabrics, you would think it would just be loaded with snibbles of fabrics and dust and so forth. It was as clean as a whistle. I was really impressed at how they make their products.
Great. So, what role do you see furniture and decor playing in our overall home health? I think that's probably something that gets overlooked. And how can homeowners choose healthier options when it comes to those items?
So furniture decor ranks as my fourth largest potential offender of chemical outgassing in a home. So this would be obviously furniture, but then things like window treatments, area rugs, artwork, even your own clothing, I would say, is part of this. And so what do we look for? We look for materials that are as low in chemical emissions as possible. Of course, the question is, how do you know what's low in chemical emissions? There are some certifications out there now that are dealing with this. Most importantly, I believe, is a certification called Green Guard Gold. Green Guard Gold actually tests the product in its usable state, not just as components like some of the independent tests do, but it actually tests the physical product and the way you would get it in your home. And it tests for formaldehyde off-gassing specifically, and it guarantees that that product has less than 7 parts per billion of formaldehyde off-gassing. And to me, that's about as good as it gets from a material you'll bring in your home. Of course, we'd like to have 0. And some of these things that are certified Green Guard Gold are 0 or close to it, but it means they can't have more than 7. And so I look for that. I look for manufacturers that are actually telling you exactly what they use in their products, how they make them. They'll go to great lengths to describe how they procure their raw materials, how they put it together using fabrics that may be certified through OTEX or GOTS or GALS or these other certifications that are out there. You have to pay attention to the marketing. If the companies are talking about how green and eco-friendly their products are, I usually avoid them, because that's telling me that they don't really focus on human health. They're focused on more of the environmental concerns, such as recycled content, and maybe even how they manufacture. Is their manufacturing facility clean? Do they have good air quality for their workers and so forth? Of course, very important, but really nothing to do with your personal health in your home.
Thank you. And you mentioned these certifications, and during our talk yesterday, you mentioned, actually talked extensively about greenwashing.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know that a certification is anything more than, I think you mentioned a story about a company that had, a side company that was certifying their own products, and it meant nothing. How do we know which certifications actually guarantee that we're getting a healthier product for our home?
So this is a little difficult sometimes, because I just read an email that I got today from another manufacturer, and on the email it says green certified on the label of this product, and which means it was an in-house marketing decision to put this little symbol on the can and try to sort of trick people into thinking that it has a third-party certification. So I always, when I see a certification I've never heard of before, I immediately go to the internet and I look at who put this certification together. I remember years ago, there was an organization called the Carpet and Rug Institute, and they put together what's called the CRI Green Label for the certification of carpeting. Well, I did a little more research and found out the CRI actually was comprised of all the carpet manufacturers that got together, and they created their own little consortium. And they said, how can we come up with a certification that we can pretty much meet, but it's not really going to hurt us financially? And that's what they did. And we see that with paint companies. We see it with some furniture companies. They're coming up with these certifications that are just essentially another form of marketing or greenwashing, as I talked about yesterday. So you really have to do that research and find out what the certifications are. Luckily, 20 years ago, the green industry was literally the Wild West. You could say anything, do anything. There was nobody there to police you and to tell you that you are wrong or ask you to prove what you're saying. These days, it's starting to boil down now to the true organizations. Again, Green Guard it's been around for a very long time, and their certifications have always been top of the line. Scientific Certifications is another organization that has really good indoor air quality certifications. As a matter of fact, they took over the certification for another flooring test called Floor Score. Now, while I like the fact that it's now independently run, independently operated, the information you get off of some of these tests doesn't necessarily help you besides essentially a pass or fail. If you have one type of flooring material that's certified Green Guard Gold and another type of flooring material that's certified Floor Score in their certification, and you try to compare the two, well, the two actually test for a little bit different materials, and they give you results in completely different units of measure. So you really can't compare. I think they do that on purpose. So they're not trying to pit themselves against each other.
Okay. And, most people, they just want to buy stuff. They do want to know it's safe, but they don't have time to research stuff. And even if they do research it, these companies know how to confuse them with what you just said, and they don't have the framework of understanding or the base of knowledge to really interpret what they're reading. Is there a place that tracks the certifications to know whether they're meaningful or whether they're industry scams?
Not really. I would say that there are organizations out there, sales companies, some designers and builders and so forth that would probably track those materials. And I mean, the materials that we would supply, everything that we have available is something that we have personally vetted to know that it's essentially the best of the best. But if you look at all of the presenters and all the topics in your conference these last several days, you'll notice that all this information is here to learn and then research beyond. But it's not information you're going to get just going into your doctor and going into a store or into a grocery store. And the fact of the matter is that we all have to come to conferences like this and learn from each other. And the best thing we can do is, once you find out the truth, is to pass it along to family and friends. I would say out of all the clients we have on an annual basis, I would say the majority of them are either repeat customers or friends, family, neighbors, or they heard me talk somewhere. Again, they are finding out because they are doing the research. Those people who are going to the big box stores and they're essentially just buying products because it has the word green on it, they're not learning right now. And unfortunately, it may come a time down the road where something tragic happens, where somebody in the home gets sick, or they think they're doing the right thing and it's not improving their health. And then they'll end up doing a little more research and finding events like this.